Hey guys, so tonight I just wanted to share with you some books that I have recently read. And by recently, I honestly mean like the end of August until now. So you might as well just like go ahead and get comfortable because this might be a long video. So let's go ahead and get started. Welcome back to That Cozy Book Nook, everyone. Hi, if you're new, my name is Tori. Let's go ahead and just jump right into the first book, and that is Lexicon by Max Berry. This was honestly a really interesting, wild, and confusing ride. This book is following a girl named Emily. She's a teenager, and she is homeless. She lives on the streets of San Francisco, and she's really just she's out here hustling. She's doing whatever she can to survive. She's approached by these recruiters from this boarding school in Virginia. And it turns out that it's not your typical school. These kids are not learning geometry and chemistry and stuff like that. They're learning how to use language as a weapon. By the time they graduate from this school, they're known as poets. That's really where we have our main story taking place. And then there's another storyline. We have Will. You know what? I'm not even going to talk about Will. Just know that there's a second point of view. I'm not going to say anything about it. That's not a spoiler. It is in the synopsis that there's a second POV. And so we're getting these 2 points of view, and they slowly start coming together as the story progresses. I will say that it comes together in a really interesting and unexpected way. People who've read this, or maybe if you haven't read it yet and you're interested in it, if you don't like it, it might be somewhere in the second half of this book because the first half is really good. The first half is just really action-packed. It's really suspenseful. It's really unique, and the whole concept is just smart. Then after you get all that in the first half, and then you get to the second half, and some weird things, I'm talking some weird things start happening. It could take a turn for you for like the worst, or you could be like, this is the greatest book I've ever read in my life. I think if you love like anthropology or linguistics, you will really enjoy this book. There's a few times where you will have to put the book down and be like, did that just happen? It was just really well done. So I ended up giving this book, I think, 4 out of 5 stars. I'm very excited to talk about this next book, and that is City of Savages by Lee Kelly. I loved every single thing about this book, and I wasn't really even expecting to. My expectations were like on the ground. I just picked it up. I've had this book on my shelf for a few months now, but I really just was like, oh, I'm in the mood for it now. It's not even the type of book that just like blows you away, but it's so moving in a really beautiful and kind of thought-provoking way that I'm still thinking about it. Let me tell you what it's about first. I'm just like rambling. It follows these 2 sisters, Sky and Fee, or Skylar and Phoenix, and they live in this post-apocalyptic Manhattan, like in this compound. And the compound is ruled by this woman named Roladin, and she just kind of has a firm handle on everything. And then one day, a stranger comes in from the outside and just really disrupts everything that these 2 girls know about Manhattan and their world and the history of how this place came to be. It's really good. It's really good, guys. It takes place in both of their perspectives, and I'm not a huge fan of books told in multiple like points of view. It's only 2 of them, but you have Sky. Sky is the oldest of the 2. She's quiet. She loves to read. She's a little on the timid side. And then you have her sister who's younger. Fee is she's like shoot first, ask questions later type of person. She's really impulsive. She's witty, and you kind of have these opposing personalities and them trying to not only figure themselves out, but also figure out how their personalities work in this post-apocalyptic world. It says, the war left us for dead. The city ate us alive. I'm almost getting kind of just like emotional thinking back on it because I did cry. I don't cry when I read books at all. If a book is sad, I'll just kind of get a little sad inside and I'll be like, oh, like this is so beautiful, but I never cry. This book, I was finishing on my way home from work and I was commuting home sobbing. Like I was a hot mess. You're really up close and personal with Sky and Fee's mental state and their feelings and just how they're going about uncovering the secrets of Manhattan's past and just secrets about like their mom. I truly love both the girls equally. It was just good. I'm gonna do a top books of 2017. And not to spoil it for you guys, but this is going to be in my top of 2017. The next book that I read was Night Film, and this is by Marisha Pessl. And I buddy read this with Meg from Rogers Reads, and I will say, I think I like this a little bit more than she did. So we're going to talk about it though. Don't worry. I think it's actually really a good like mystery thriller for the colder months. It is like set in October, and so perfect for like around Halloween. But kind of the nitty gritty of this book is this film director named Cordova, I think his name is Stanislas, whatever. His name is Cordova. He's a reclusive film director, but he's also extremely iconic. And so one day his 24-year-old daughter is found dead in an abandoned building in Manhattan. And so this journalist named Scott basically attaches himself to the case and tries to figure out what happened to Ashley. The only problem is this director his films are so dark that A, they cannot be shown in theaters, and B, he has this cult following where his fans basically worship the ground he walks on. They like show red band screenings of his films and then go and talk about it and kind of decode everything that happens. And kind of the problem within that, you don't know what is reality anymore and what is fiction. It becomes psychological at one point. And there came a point where I really had to just put this book down and be like, who am I? But I mean, it does get really dark and just, you feel paranoid almost reading it. It was because of that I did end up giving this book 3 stars overall. Where I ended up knocking off a couple of stars came from Scott himself. Scott is such a problematic character, and just the characters that work with him. He's a little racist. He's extremely sexist. I think he's homophobic. I really had to ask myself reading this book, is Scott truly just an unlikable character, or is some of that also Marisha Pessl playing on stereotypes of different ethnic and minority groups? And I think the answer to both of them is yes. And just the fact that they're kind of merging together just really didn't work. The characters in here are definitely not the best, but the story itself and the foundation of the story is really good. And the mystery that surrounds Cordova and his films and just everything that happened to Ashley, working through that is really insane. Overall, I did end up giving this a 3 out of 5 stars. And also, it just felt a little bogged down too. Yeah, I mean, overall, 3 stars. I was thinking 3.5, but I think this is a solid 3 stars. The next book that I read was Tales of Falling and Flying, and this is by Ben Laurie. This is Ben Laurie's second short story collection. I love this book. The first one, I have this one too. I read this a couple months ago. This first one is Stories for Nighttime and Some for the Day. If you guys can see that. Nope. Okay. Well, I do think this one was a little bit better, but I think Tales of Falling and Flying was just a little more, it felt a little more mature. And I'm not saying that in a bad way, but you definitely, maybe because I read them so close together, but you definitely see not only the progression of Ben Laurie's writing, which is amazing. I really admire his writing. You not only see the progression of his writing, but you also just see the progression of ideas and how much he can put into just one really short story. I thoroughly enjoyed this. Like I said, I did enjoy this a little bit more though, but I ended up giving this one a 4.5 out of 5 stars. I think if you all really want to start reading short stories, or you're interested in short stories but don't know where to start, Ben Laurie is such a good place to start. You'll just get the full package right at the front door, and it's very rewarding. That's how I felt after finishing this. Ray Bradbury says, this guy can write. I mean, you honestly, who can argue with Ray Bradbury? One of the next books that I finished, this is the most, I believe, yes. This is the most recent one that I finished, and that is The Bellwether Revivals by Benjamin Wood. This book actually has a lot of great moments, but they're not well balanced with the not so great moments. You know what I mean? And so I think overall that just makes it an okay book. If that makes any sense. I feel like that doesn't make any sense. If you guys are at all familiar with The Secret History by Donna Tartt, which you should be, this book kind of follows a similar structure in which in the very first page, you already know a crime happened, who's involved, who got killed, who got hurt, that kind of thing. Can I just talk about, I love structures like that, first of all, because it really just allows you to focus on the relationships of the characters and just what is happening and not trying to piece together the mystery of what's going on. That works really well in this book, but at the same time, it really does fall short in a lot of places. This book is following a man named Oscar. It starts when he's leaving his job at a nursing home, and he is drawn into this chapel because he hears music playing. From that moment, he's introduced to Eden and Iris Bellwether. And Eden believes he can heal people literally with music. And that, I don't know why I'm laughing. It's actually really dark when you think about it. And he starts kind of embarking on these different experiments that prove his theory that you can heal people with music. I really don't even know what else to say about this book without spoiling it. It's really fascinating to watch Eden through Oscar's eyes and just to listen to him talk about music. He's a musical prodigy. Overall, I mean, I can't complain that I read it. It was pretty good. I gave this a 3.5 out of 5 stars and quite enjoyed it, but it just kind of lulled a little bit. And a lot of the characters that are friends with, like Eden and Iris, just didn't really do much for me as the book went on. So the last book that I read, I just realized that my Kindle is dead, but I read it on Kindle, and that was Frenchman's Creek by Daphne du Maurier. I will put a picture right here. And I read this book with Bree and Sarai, and I will leave a link to both of their channels in the description box. I love this book. I love Daphne du Maurier. So, I mean, I wasn't even aware that her collection of work is as deep as it is, but I mean, she has a lot of books out there that I just was not really paying attention to. I think most of us just know her because of Rebecca, which is one of my favorite books of all time. And I've also read My Cousin Rachel. Frenchman's Creek is following this woman named Donna, and she's this woman of London, high society, and she's just kind of tired of it. She's tired of how superficial it is and just how uptight it is. And so she takes her kids and she goes to the Cornish coast to her husband's family home. And it is there that she finds that this pirate is kind of causing a stir. And I mean, from there, it's so good. Donna falls in love with the pirate and she just starts having a real adventure. The themes are so strong. I think du Maurier just handles this idea of escapism really well, and just women who don't want to conform to the society that they were born in and just want to feel free and just alive and leave responsibilities behind and do what they want. I mean, that's really, really strong. And I think just based on the time du Maurier wrote this in, it's excellent. So, and just the duality of like seeing Donna being this woman of London and of this high society, and then seeing her just be carefree with the pirate and just kind of longing to have this life of freedom. I really just think it's something powerful. So I highly recommend this book, especially if you are a fan of du Maurier's already and just like want to read more of her work. I think this is perfect. I really, really enjoyed it. I gave this a 4 out of 5 stars, and I'm going to be reading Jamaica Inn with them starting next month. So look forward to talking about that as well. So that is it, guys. That's all I have for you. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know what you've been reading recently. This was just such a general overview of everything that's been like moving across my bookshelf recently, and I cannot believe we have like 5 weeks left in 2017. I don't think I completed not one of my challenges that I set for myself last December. So that's failure for you. No, I'm kidding. But yeah, thank you guys. I appreciate you all taking out time and watching this, and I hope to see you next time. Take care.